sometimes, depending on how this message is delivered, some people can hear it in words, at least have glimpses of it, or at least get them closer to the understanding of what the perennial message of non-duality is pointing to. So I'd like to go over some of these pointers with you. The first one is, you perceive the world as you experience yourself. If you take yourself to be a mind and body that's contained in here, then when you perceive out into the world, you will see everything else as objects as well, because I'm an object, and therefore everything else is an object. I have an existence, and everything else has its own separate existence. But when you experience yourself, as the one reality of awareness, as you peer back out into the once was world, you still see it as it was before, but you know the world as yourself. There is no over there and I'm over here anymore. There is just the seamless oneness of yourself. Number 2, self-realization, enlightenment, liberation, and/or awakening, aka ever-present happiness, is simply yourself directly experiencing itself. So when yourself knows itself directly, that is enlightenment. When your attention turns away from all the objective world back onto the non-objectiveness of yourself, and it seats itself in itself, that is liberation, or enlightenment, or whatever else word you want to put on that. In Ramana Maharshi's terms, it is when consciousness becomes aware of its own existence. These are all the same words. You could take these words and interchange them and it would say the same thing. You could say liberation is when existence becomes conscious of its own awareness. This is going right back to the Advaita phrase Sat Chit Ananda, where Sat, Chit, and Ananda they're not separate, they're not three different things. They are the one essence. There are three essences of the one reality. Number 3, being yourself is sharing yourself. So when you come home and rest in your being, in yourself, you inadvertently shine yourself back out into the world, because you've eliminated the veil of ego that has blocked your beautiful being from being shared with everyone else, with humanity. So that's what I mean by you inadvertently and unavoidably shine. Number 4, the ego is either busy tasking or agitated with silence. I love this one because you can experience this yourself. If you're not busy, the spaces between busyness, the pauses you could say, your ego will become agitated in silence, and it will bounce you back into busyness. So there's no such thing as a still, silent mind. A mind is either busy distracting itself from itself, or it's agitated in silence. Number 5, you are not what you do, you are who you are. This goes back to how an ego is assembled. An ego has 2 parts. It has a real part of awareness, because you're permanently aware, and it has an unreal part of everything we've added on to that. And the ego sits in between these two. The ego sits in confusion, because if it doesn't know if it's real or unreal, and it bounces back and forth. But what's happened is we've identified with everything that's unreal. We've identified with what we do instead of who we are. So this message is saying do a role reversal on what you identify with or who you identify with. So identify with yourself instead of your ego. Number 6, there is great relief in realizing you cannot know anything conceptually or intellectually. This is a big one, especially at first, because we think that we operate in this world from all of our conceptual knowledge. If you took this away, we wouldn't be able to make a living, feed our family, have friends, travel. How can we do this? Yet, as you rest in yourself via self-enquiry, you have to relinquish all of these identities of knowledge. And the paradox is, the more that you let go, the more that you realize they are yourself already. They're not stored in your mind. They're stored in your being. You don't lose that knowledge. You just experience it from a different point of view, you could say. Number 7, you are what I am refers to. So this goes back to self-enquiry and having this experience directly. When you rest in yourself and you turn your attention inward and you grab onto that sense of I and you drift back into being, the I am dissipates into yourself, into the infinite. And that's what it means by you are what I am refers to. I am refers to being. And so this is what is experienced in self-realization. Number 8, non-duality is trying to explain two sides of a one-sided coin. This is interesting. The reason we use the coin is because we are trying to explain an ego and simultaneously self. So we're trying to explain the finite form and the infinite formless. And there appears to be two things going on. And we can refer to this as a coin. But where the paradox is that there's only one substance. There's not two of anything. That's why I like to say it's a one-sided coin. If you utilize what quantum physicists have found, they call the self the unified field. And they claim that the unified field is a two-dimensional plane of infinite potential. Well, the plane is only 1 point thick, and a point doesn't have thickness. A point has no dimensions. So if you were to look at this unified field, if this was heads, and you were able to get onto the other side to see what this side was, this would be heads also. 9. Our favorite pastime is resisting reality. Learn to become in line with reality as it manifests, which is the end of free will. So the ego, it's inherent in the ego to have resistance. It wants to fight reality. And by letting the ego go, you come back in line with reality as it manifests. And there's nobody there who can have free will if there's nobody there to have free will. It's just coming through you. And again, this dissolving happens with self-enquiry. Number 10, self knows itself just by being itself, and is known in Advaita terms as jnana, which is pure truth, pure knowledge. Therefore, any knowledge other than yourself is false knowledge. This is where it gets extremely simple, extremely cut and dry. There's self, which is pure, true knowledge, and then there's everything other than self, which is false knowledge. And what is false knowledge? Anything you can know with your mind, anything that you experience with your body, and anything you perceive with your five senses. That is all false knowledge and has to be relinquished before you can experience self directly. And I'm going to throw in a bonus here. Knowing yourself is the direct experience of knowing the answer to all questions before the question even arises. Take that in for a minute. When you know the one, then you know all. There's no movement in that. There isn't a question that arises and self answers itself for itself. It already knows all of the questions before the question is proposed. And it knows all the answers to those questions before the question is proposed. So I hope that you found this helpful. The way to experience this is self-enquiry. The only way is through self-enquiry. This is how you derive clarity out of what the message is pointing to. And why is it the only way? Because there's only one of you. So how many paths back home to you can there be? There can only be one. And self-enquiry says, take the one attention of yourself and turn it back onto the one path back home. And the more you do that, the more the agitative, irritative, restlessness of the ego will dissolve, and you will experience the beautiful qualities of your infinite self.